All right, well, it's 10:01, so in the interest of time, we will go ahead and get started. Make sure that we're kind of respectful of everybody's time for the day. I just wanted to say a couple things before we get started. Welcome to the first of what I'm calling our minis meetings, our little virtual meetings. Obviously, we haven't had a user group in a while, and judging by the metrics, it's going to be a little while more until we actually kind of see these things happen. But we did want to, we did have a number of topics that we wanted to make sure to get out there and kind of, in case anyone needs some assistance or, you know, kind of take the place of the user group meetings that we had, like the all days or the afternoons. We're doing ours a little bit different. Instead of having the all day groups, like some of the other Tyler user groups, or some of the things that ASBO have done with their bi-monthly, we've decided to kind of slice ours up into 45 minutes, 1 hour segments, and just do 1 or 2 topics and then be done, and then move on to the next one. And then that way you only have to sign in for the part that you're interested in. So if you don't want to, if you are here and you absolutely don't have anything to do with fiscal year end procedures, reclassifying revenue, or journal entries, then you don't even need to be here. You can go ahead and sign off and go about your workday. But for those that do need these topics, come in here for 45 minutes, an hour, and then be done. We have a number of HR, payroll, and finance topics, as well as some fixed asset stuff and some contract stuff that we have laid out for the next month. We'll have another invite going out this afternoon for next week's session. It will be an HR-centric topic, so we'll make sure we'll try and get everyone. Ideally, we want to try and do a payroll HR topic and a finance topic every week. We're starting slow. This is the first time we've ever done something like this, so it might work out great. If so, then we'll continue on. If there's adjustments that need to be made, then we'll go ahead and make those. So we can continue to improve our process and continue to improve the delivery of how we're doing this virtual user group. It is set up as a meeting, so you do have the opportunity to talk if you choose to. Just feel free to unmute yourself. Just be respectful of everybody because we have a couple of presenters lined up. A couple of people will be talking, and we don't want a whole lot of cross chatter going on at the same time. But we wanted to give that opportunity if somebody needed it. I do want to go ahead and sort of introduce our team here. These are the people that we have been working with in trying to get these topics off the ground and kind of get these things. So I do want to kind of go around the robin here, and I will just kind of highlight them as we go around, and I'll start with our itinerant business managers. Like to say, I'm going to stop sharing here really quick. All right. So we'll go ahead and start with Annette. And if you have the video grid open, it looks like there's this Brady Bunch sort of thing going on here. So Annette, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. My name is Annette Moreno, and I'm here with the county now. It's just been over a year with them, and it's been a great year for me. Again, happy to be here, and I chose to kind of dream about being on the beach today. Hope you all can join me.
One could only hope. All right, and next we'll go on over to Tracy.
Good morning, everybody. Tracy Rockwell. Good to see you all. I hope everybody is doing well, and I'll apologize right now. I do have a couple big dogs, so if they start barking, I'll try to make sure to mute, but hope everybody is doing well and look forward to seeing you all soon.
All right. Thank you, Tracy. Next on the list, in no particular order, just happened to be the order on my screen, we have Miss Jill Wynn.
Hi, everybody. Hope you're all doing well, learning this new COVID world that we're all learning about. And yeah, hope to see you at many of these meetings. And we're here if you have any questions.
All right. And next on my alphabetical list here, Miss Andy. Andy, get up.
Mute.
I can hear you. I can't hear you. Just can't have nice things. All right, we'll just wave and smile, Andy. Okay. And last on the list, Mr. Jeff Smith, if you could introduce yourself.
Oh my God, look at all the Star Wars stuff.
Good morning, I'm Jeff. It's good to not see everybody, I guess, and hope to see everybody soon. Hope everyone is doing well.
All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Annette. Annette, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself and go and get your presentation started.
Okay, will do. Thank you, Mike. Okay. So I'm going to start off with the fiscal year-end checklist, and I'm going to share my little spreadsheet that I want to share with you all. Okay, what you should be seeing is an Excel spreadsheet. You know, through the years of being a director of finance, it comes to the end of the year and you think, oh my goodness, I have to close the fiscal year. So where do I begin? So a few years ago, I attended an ASBO session with presenter was Lauren Felton from Paradise Valley, and she shared her tool during that presentation. And I just took that and I just used it, I adapted it to my needs. And so this is what I've come up with. So I just wanted to share it with all of you. After this meeting, we'll share this tool and also the presentation that I'll be doing in a few minutes, going over the revenue. So this spreadsheet at the top, of course, you're gonna show the fiscal year that you're working on. It's a list of tasks to accomplish, to close out, make sure that really that your GL is in top shape. Just in preparing for the AFR, making sure everything is properly recorded. So I've broken it down into 3 sections. There's a section for cash, a section for revenue, and those are highlighted in the green, and a section for just expenditures and the general ledger. And over toward the right, you see at the top, I've put funds. And so in those columns, I put an X next to, whether that item really relates to that fund or not. So when you have a blank, it's really like, well, I don't really need to, for that task, I don't need to look at Fund 001. It's really about Student Activity Fund 850. And you'll see the X on 850. And so that's kind of how I worked this tool. And of course, I have a completed column. When I finished an item, I just mark it off. I'm a list maker, and that's how I live my life pretty much. Just to make sure, I don't miss anything. Everything is checked off, and I feel good about that. You really accomplished something. So anyway, so I have highlighted just a few items, just talking points today. I'm not going to go through the whole list. Of course, I want to just tell you that, once you get the tool, you want to adapt it to your needs. There are some things here that I had to do at Pendergast while I was there that, we had special programs that I had to move expenditures around. Say, for instance, we borrowed from M&O for a program, an instructional improvement program, that we just didn't have the cash yet. You get 2 payments in the instructional improvement fund. So I waited to the end of the year when I knew that there were payments there. And hi. Then I would transfer the expenditures at the end of the year. So things like that, you want to just add. The other thing about it is, as we went through audits, audit exceptions would come up now and again. I'd add them to the list. Just make sure you check this because that was an audit finding, 2 years ago, whatever. So just, adapt it to your needs. So the first thing I've highlighted here is that you want to make sure to do is for the cash, you want to make sure that you are looking at your fund balance report and any variances that are reported there. Variances are due most likely to liabilities, outstanding liabilities hanging out there. Any fund balance adjustments that you've made. You want to make sure that you know the reasons you have variances, and you may need to report that to the auditors if they are fund balance adjustments. Okay, the next thing I highlighted is, of course, your cash reconciliation. Want to make sure that's done at least through June 30th and try to get through August if you can, the encumbrance period. So that's really important. The next thing is just to review your cash controlled funds. Make sure they're all positive. If you need to move things around, you might need to do that before you close out the year. The next thing is to review your fund balance report for inactive funds that you may want to close out. That, you know, at the end of the year, that's the time to do it and move any remaining balances for inactive funds to the appropriate funds. Now, the revenue section I'm going to be talking about later in a PowerPoint presentation, so I'm going to skip over that for now. So under expenditures, I just highlighted a few here. Again, with expenditures, we want to make sure everything is properly recorded. So the first item I've highlighted here is to review your objects, 6100, 6200, for any AP expenditures. One year, something got by me, and we actually had recorded a supply order in 6100. So unfortunately, the auditors found it before I did, but it was in time to do a journal entry before I closed out the AFR. So it's just one of those things you want to analyze, you know, go through your objects, make sure everything's appropriately coded. So the next thing I highlighted here is the journal entry for your audit expense, your federal, the cost in relation to the federal single audit needs to be coded to 6330. And so you might have to do a little bit of an allocation for that, a journal entry. Review your travel expenses, 6580. Another area that is, you know, you may have audit findings in. I know we had, it seems like the auditors are really hitting hard on the travel these days. And so just take a look at your 6580 for any expenditures that are not travel related. For instance, conference fees. You don't want to code conference fees to the 6580. Okay, and then down below I have review object code 6700. Again, make sure that you don't have any capital expenditures in M&O and other funds that are not appropriate. You want to definitely remember to review your liabilities, your objects, O2 question marks. Make sure that they are equal to 0, all cleared out. The next item is to calculate your food service match amount. You want to make sure that you are matching an amount out of M&O. So I've highlighted, you could also do 610. Again, just I put little X's next to the funds that relates to. The next item I have highlighted is review and reconcile your transfers in and transfers out. Make sure they balance out. They should be equal to 0. You want to also review your lease payment principal and interest. Make sure they're properly coded as principal or interest according to your schedules. Then the last thing here is your GFA needs to be reconciled. Make sure that you have done that's been done by the end of the year. And if you have any performance contracts, make sure, you know, some of those projects are paid out of a separate bank account outside of the district bank accounts. So make sure those projects are included in your GFA. Okay, so that is really all I wanted to highlight for fiscal year-end checklist items. Again, it's a tool that you can use, adapt to your needs, just to keep you on track, closing out the year. Okay.
I do want to quickly add that we will be emailing this spreadsheet out after the meeting is over today. If you are not on the EASE mailing list, make sure you sign up, or if you have other people in your office that you want to make sure get signed up so they get notified of things like this. There is a link in the Zoom chat, so go check that out and you can sign yourself up for the EASE mailing list. Make sure you get all the documents and make sure you get all the meeting notifications.
Great. Are there any questions in the chat or otherwise? I don't see any, so I will continue and move on. Okay, I'm going to just stop sharing this spreadsheet and go on to a PowerPoint. Okay. Are we good? We seeing the PowerPoint on your screens? Thumbs up? All right, cool. Okay, so we're gonna just go through reviewing and reclassifying revenue, which is one of the key items that you'll want to do with closing out the year. I'm gonna start this little thing. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to cover is just a couple of the reports that are available in Visions that you can use to do your analysis of your revenues. One of the reports that I used most often is the General Ledger Report Writer. I do want to highlight just a couple of differences between the two reports. So the second report, though, which is really nice, it's just the landscape is a little different and the information is reported a little different. So I'll just go through and highlight some of those differences. So on the General Ledger Report Writer, you'll notice that the year to date, oops, sorry about that. I thought I had my pen on. Okay, now I have my pen on. Okay, this year to date column is showing a negative amount, which with revenues, you all know that it's a credit balance. So that's what it's really showing you is a credit balance for that revenue account. This report, you really don't need a encumbrance column for revenues. And then you have a budget balance, which if you had a budget here, it would show you maybe what your uncollected revenues are for that account. So now this revenue report, it shows the numbers a little differently. So the year-to-date column here is a positive amount. So that's a little different. Also, you have an uncollected balance column, which shows you what may be missing for those different accounts. Also, it's a little spread out, easier to read, I think. It's going to do the same thing if you had a budget here in the budget column. This uncollected balance would show you what truly, you may be missing, or you want to go look to see, oh, we're just short, or, we're a little over what we estimated for revenue. Okay, so with reviewing your revenues, there are several things that you want to just check off the list. So the first being reconcile to the state reports. Your total amounts, I'm going to go through in the next few slides some of the reports that you can go verify the numbers of what the district should have received and recorded. Okay, so the next thing you want to check off is to verify the revenues are recorded properly by fund and object. So say for instance in 001, you see that there is something recorded in 1920, which I believe is gifts and donations. Well, would that be appropriate for M&O? You might want to just double check. If you have a gift and donation, that most likely should be recorded in Fund 530. Just as an example, something to look for. So the next item is to reconcile your grant revenues to your GME reimbursement reports. So you want to make sure you received everything and it's properly coded. So that is the next item, is to verify your grant revenues that are recorded properly. The federal funds 100 to 399, those are going to be recorded in revenue 4,500. The grant codes 400 to 499, they should be coded in the state object 3200. The last thing here is to reconcile your food service reimbursements coded to 4,500. Reconcile those to your claims. Make sure that you've received all of them. Sometimes they are missed. Sometimes you even may have an adjustment on those claims, and the numbers don't match. So you definitely want to go back and reconcile those to the claims. Okay, any questions so far?
Annette,
Yes.
this is also a good time to kind of think about some of your other funds where you may have rollover and a prior year revenue is posted in the current year just due to timing. This will be a good time to reconcile and make sure those are posted in the correct year, especially right now for the AFR.
Yes, most definitely. Yeah. Make sure, yeah, everything is properly recorded in the correct fiscal year. Very important. Yep. Okay, we're going to move on. Okay, so verifying the state revenues, which was the first item to check off. I think it's really important to know, to just basically have that cross-reference on the object codes, because the treasurer is posting revenues to their object codes, and then we post revenues to, you know, the USFR object code. And so I came up with this table as just a cross-reference checklist. I also added the report column here just to show what report we can go back and check for the amount that the district should have received and recorded. And then also, again, going back and reconciling what fiscal year those revenues are actually recorded, and make sure that they are in the correct fiscal year. So this again is just a breakdown of M&O and the state revenues that we receive. So just for example, the state equalization for the county portion, the treasurer is posting it to 3149. We as districts will record it in 2120. And we can look at the ADE APOR64-1 for the correct amount that should have been received and recorded. Okay. All right, so the first report I wanted to go over is the Maricopa County Treasurer Object Code Summary Report. And we can use this to reconcile to the district's GL. So what I did here is added all the notes, the references to the district object code, where that revenue should be recorded. You want to be sure to look at the year-to-date balances column for the amounts. I did want to highlight that at the end of the year, you can pull down the June 30 or June report for the year-to-date balances. It is a cash report as noted in red here, meaning that the treasurer's posted this year-to-date balance includes revenues posted from July 1st of 2019 through June 30th of 2020. So with a note here at the bottom, especially for state equalization, we all know that the state rolls over state equalization and pays the districts in July for the prior fiscal year. So little note here for the June 20 report, that year-to-date figure in green for state equalization includes the FY19 rollover amount. So that will be a reconciling item when you go to reconcile to your district GL. Okay. Again, I've just noted all of the district object codes, so you can kind of refer back to your own GL report or however you're reconciling, and tie those numbers back. All right, I'm going to move forward. So where do you find that report? You're going to want to go to the agency web and on the reports tab, and you're going to go, I know this is highlighting FY19. I did this presentation, I think, a year ago. And so I just used the same example, but you want to go to FY20 and you can find all the reports for every month there in FY20 and moving forward. So you can actually use this report monthly to reconcile your revenues monthly, which is what I would recommend and I always try to do. So, so that's where you go to find that report. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the ADE reports. So the APOR64-1, this is your equalization assistance and additional state aid report. So on page 1, you will find the county equalization assistance. And the total amount here is what you should reconcile to in your GL. Again, here's the district object code 2120. And the treasurer's object code is 3149 here in the red box. Now for state equalization, you will look at the payment schedule below, and there is the column for the funded year to date. So that is the figure to reconcile to. I've highlighted or noted the district object is 3110 and the treasurer's object is 3508. I just want to make a special note on payment 14 here. And sometimes it's a negative, sometimes it is a positive. I used AWFRIA, they were first on the list, so this is AWFRIA's report. I should have mentioned that earlier. But anyway, this payment 14, I believe, has just been made in the September 1st payment. And so when you pull down the FY21 report, 64-1 report, on page 4, there's some adjustments. So you may see it there, but it will most likely be a reconciling item, something that is recorded in FY21 rather than FY20. Just a heads up on that. Okay, so then we're going to move to page 2 for your additional state aid. So again, there's the total for additional state aid highlighted, noting the district object is 3120, your treasurer object 3144 to 3145. There is a year-to-date total column, and that number actually matches the total here at the top. Okay, moving on. So we do have the classroom site fund and the instructional improvement fund reports to refer to for the year-to-date payments. Again, there's the payment schedule. You can do it by month if you'd like. But at the end of the year, we need to be reconciling to that bottom line amount. The district object is 3,200 for both of them because they are state funds. The treasurer object for the classroom site fund is 3,514. And for the instructional improvement fund, it is 3,520. So I've noted that on both of these reports. And that's where you go to find the reports. I know that the state has recently updated their website. So I believe this link will still work. Okay, so this is a reconciling example. And Tracy had just a couple of weeks ago was working with a district, and that district may be on and probably recognizes this nice Excel spreadsheet. We thought it was a great example of how to reconcile. As you know, with Visions, you can actually export any of the data, any detail, account detail, transaction detail, you can export to Excel. So I believe that's how this got created. You have the district's year-to-date figures here. Excuse me, I have to get a drink of water before I start coughing. Excuse me. Okay, so you have the district's GL year-to-date figures here in this column. You have the treasurer's figures here. And then there's a difference column. And what they did here is they just highlighted, see these numbers here highlighted, they highlighted the differences that need to be reconciled, basically. And the reason there is a difference is because the treasurer has not recorded or doesn't have anything recorded in that line. So then there is a notes column here for any reconciling notes. What I do want to highlight is how we reconciled the state equalization and the county equalization, and that is in orange. So right here down below. So you'll notice that this amount here is here. And so we start with that. I basically start with state equalization assistance. And we noted that there is also this county equalization assistance difference. And so just taking a look, going back to the APOR64-1 reports and noticing that, yeah, right off the bat, we verified that the state rollover for fiscal year 19 was recorded in the treasurer's balance. So we basically take that off. And then we came up with, oh, look at there. There's a difference, the same difference for the county equalization. So it was determined that that county equalization was recorded wrong, incorrectly in 3110. So we need to do a journal entry to move that to the 2120 for county equalization. So again, just highlighting, just remember there's a state rollover that gets paid in July that should be recorded in the prior fiscal year. And that it will be a reconciling item. Okay, so are there any questions so far? Okay. All right, then I'm going to move on. We're going to talk about reclassifying revenue. So reclassifying revenue, there are several reasons why you want to reclassify revenue, or just basically journal entries. The first being current year refunds. You want to go review your 1981, 1982, 1990, whatever code that you use to record the refunds. Make sure they are really current year refunds and that you will want to do a journal entry to debit those and actually credit the expenditure accounts to offset that expense. You do want to review your 1980, which is prior year refunds, just to make sure that no current year refunds are recorded there and that they are truly prior year refunds. The next item is that you may have recorded revenue in the wrong fund or the wrong object. Just like what I described in the state equalization, where there was some county equalization that had got recorded there. And so we want to just do a journal entry and move those funds to the correct object for county equalization. The third item there is to reallocate revenues to the appropriate funds. This really, you want to look at Prop 301. For our districts, all of the 301 payments are being posted to Fund 10. So we want to make sure that you're doing the allocation to Fund 11, 12, and 13, 20, 40, 40. Make sure that that occurred. So moving the funds from 10 to those 3 funds appropriately. And the last item there is your debt service fund disbursements. For the county districts, we are actually posting those to the revenues as a debit to the revenue accounts. It's actually payments. So what needs to happen is we need to credit those revenue accounts and expense those payments, debiting an expense account in the debt service fund. Okay, so the next few slides, I've just given examples of the journal entries for these items. And so just really quickly, current year expense, first it's posted as a revenue. It's a credit to the revenue. You want to go ahead and just debit that revenue account and credit the expense account to correct that for a current year refund. If it's truly a prior year refund, you want to make sure that that 1980 is a credit and you leave it there. It's not going to offset an expense because it is truly a prior year expenditure. Okay. The next example is to reclassify federal revenue that was incorrectly recorded in, say, Fund 100, and we need to move it to Fund 140. So it was initially recorded as a credit to 100. So we are going to we're going to do a journal entry to correct that. So we're going to debit 100, 4,500, and we are going to credit the correct fund 140, 4,500. And also remember to do the cash, the offsetting cash accounts. The next example is just to correct the E-rate revenue that was possibly posted to a local revenue. So the proper code would be the 4,900 for federal revenues. And so you want to debit the incorrect code, 1990, and credit the correct code, 4,900. So the next example is a 301 redistribution from Fund 10. So basically you want to debit your Fund 10 and you're going to move it to the 11, 12, and 13, which is a credit to the 3,200 object code. Of course, including the offsetting cash accounts. Okay, the next example is just—
Hey, Annette,
Yes.
would you go back one slide?
Sure.
So something that I just wanted to point out to everybody. So Annette has wonderful whole numbers, but a lot of us see that the Classroom Site Fund will get pennies and things like that. And for the districts that we host on our box, when they do this journal entry and it comes over to us, the journal entry is out of balance when we do the reconciliation, because unfortunately, there's not a balancing being done to the cash object code, the 0103, and it ends up being off by mere pennies. So one thing that I would strongly recommend is when you're doing this journal entry, before you post it, truly just pull out your object 0103 and make sure it nets to 0.
Awesome. Thank you, Tracy. Yes, that's definitely good to go through and make sure those cash accounts are in balance. Thank you. Okay, so we talked a little bit about moving, revenues from one account or one fund to another. So this is just another example, moving property taxes from Fund 01 to 610. So again, just debit the incorrect code or the code that you want to move it from, and credit the fund that you want to put the money into. I wanted to just highlight again that when you're moving money from treasurer fund to another treasurer fund, or your district fund 01 to another fund, that is going to require a treasurer cash transfer. Sometimes that happens automatically if you're with the county, and if you're outside districts, of course, you're going to be doing those on your own. So the last example here is the debt service payments that are recorded as revenue. So when they are recorded as revenue, it's actually a debit because it was a negative. So it was debited to a revenue. So we're going to credit those revenue accounts. and that's noted here. And so they are true expenditures, so you're going to be debiting the correct expenditure accounts, principal, interest, or paying agent fees. Okay. Are there any questions so far? No chat or? All right. So I'm going to turn it over to Tracy. The next slide is the journal entry cheat sheet, which she will go over. And then I think it'll be time for questions.
Thank you, Annette.
Yes,
So I noticed that a couple people have joined us since we started and through some of the chats and comments that Mike has made. So just know that all of this information will be emailed out to you that registered later this afternoon. So you'll get Annette's great spreadsheet for fiscal year end checklist, along with the PowerPoint and this journal entry cheat sheet. So some of you attended the ASBO Winter Conference just last year. It feels like a long time ago, but where I did a presentation with Melissa Higdon and we went over this journal entry cheat sheet. And what we wanted to do was share it with you because it just has everything on one screen, and it seems to be a quick, easy way to look at what you need to do when you're making a journal entry. I will admit, I am not a fan of doing journal entries. I do kind of give my own self the eye roll when I do it, and I always double check to make sure I have my debits and credits correct. And I really like coming to this because it shows you, if you look at the bottom right, what you need to debit and what you need to credit when you're needing to make an adjustment. Now, obviously, it doesn't give you the object code number or anything like that, but it does give you the directions that you do want to go to make the adjustment that you're looking for. And a lot of us grew up knowing the ALICE for asset, capital, income, liabilities, and expense. Well, we created FACILY to include the fund balance because a lot of people don't really know where to throw that in to the other ALICE acronym. So up at the top, just a basic description of what the F stands for when you're looking at the grid on the bottom left hand. Your fund balance, that's how much you have left over at the end of the fiscal year, including the encumbrance period. So truly, it's your fund balance that you roll over from one fiscal year to the next, but not until after you've completed your AFR. The completion of your AFR, like Annette had talked about, that's the reconciliation of any adjustments you need for your revenue, your expense, things like that, including your liabilities. So we just wanted to share this with you again because of going over journal entries and reclassifying things of that nature. And it's a great tool to use throughout the year, absolutely. But if anybody has any questions or would like to even just have this on its own, please feel free to contact any of us and we can email that out to you.
Great, thank you, Tracy. Okay, so I'm going to move forward, and this is our contact information. And I think we'll just open it up to questions at this point.
So no questions means that we did such a great job that we answered all your questions, right?
I guess.
Or it means no one can find the unmute button. So thank you, Annette, for doing such a great job. It was kind of, I know we had a couple practice sessions leading up to today, so it was nice to see that everything kind of went without a hitch. A lot of stuff going in through the chat, being able to answer questions as Annette is going through her presentation, so that was really cool to be able to do. And we even got an answer from one of the other participants. Thank you, Trenda. We see you. Thanks a lot for helping out. I hope everyone kind of enjoyed this format. We will get a little, if you have any feedback for us, please feel free to go ahead and send it over to one of the contact information you see here, either Annette or Tracy, so we can make adjustments for our meeting next week. Other than that, do you have any other closing information, Annette, you want to pass on, or Tracy?
No, I just, have fun closing out the fiscal year. I know it's time to get that AFR done and everybody's so busy, but yeah, if you have any questions after today, just contact us. We'll help you through things.
So one thing that I do want to share with everybody, because I honestly had not realized this, it's been about 2 days since I've gone out there, and thank you, Annette, for saying it. ADE did revise their website again, and go take a look at it because everything is in a completely different spot again. So go take a look. And then also too, if you don't have to do your AFR yet, just kind of hold on if you can, because I know there's already been 2 updates to it. I know I'm going to start about the middle of next week on the 2 districts that I work with, so that I make sure that I have the most current forms. So definitely keep checking the Auditor General's website as well.
All right, great. Everybody, you have a great Friday. Stay safe out there. Make sure you're wearing your masks. They are a great fashion accessory in my household now. So I hope everyone stays healthy. And there's a lot of talk about when school's going to start up, and everybody's doing something different. But I wish you all the best of luck, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye, everybody.